and the bell hits, adrenaline rush, pow, out the door. What are we going to this time? Is it a heart attack? Is it a car wreck? Is it a fire? Is it a hazmat spill? All of those, that was my daily reality.
I found out about the job from another woman firefighter and actually didn't really ever think it was something I could do. So that's kind of what drives me in this, is knowing that I only found out through another woman firefighter. Really, she made me realize I could do this.
I never thought it would be as good when I came in. I never knew what it would be like. But I look back and think it was probably one of the best things I ever did, and still miss it.
So it was just a good experience as a kid. I had a good run-in with some firefighters when I was 7 or 8 years old.
This is my best side right here.
This is his good side there. It was my mom and I. She was single parent, so we lived in a mobile home right down in Des Moines, and the mobile home next door caught fire. So we pulled our little lawn chairs out and we were watching the fire department come and put the fire out. And I just thought it was so neat seeing all the things they were doing. They knew exactly what they were supposed to do. It just looked really intriguing as a kid. So when I said to my friend, hey, I think I want to be a fireman. You can't, you're a girl. Right then, that's just something that's always, you can't tell me I can't do something, I'm going to try to prove you wrong. And so when the firefighters were picking up their equipment at the end, I asked one of them, can girls be firefighters? And I think I said firemen. And absolutely. All right. Life in the department, in the fire stations, I have to say are like a 180-degree turnaround from when they came in. Every woman that's been in before me, they've made our lives easier. They've endured a lot.
For someone who served 30 years in the Seattle Fire Department, it's an incredible legacy, it's an incredible gift of service to spend a life in service of others through the fire department. And she's contributed a great deal in terms of being a trailblazer and a role model for people who have come after her. So with that, I will introduce Chief Beers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm really delighted to be here. What kind of people usually ask me is, why did you choose the fire department? Why did you become a firefighter?
1974, 75, women's lib. Women kind of were getting into all sorts of different things. But my really only choices were a teacher, a stewardess, or a nurse. And I didn't want to do any of those. My brother had applied for the fire department, and at that time, just like now, they have a lot of applicants. So they sent us a card at our house, and on the back of the card it said women and minorities are encouraged to apply. So I thought, oh, I'd like to do that. I thought that if I tried out and made it, it wouldn't be a big deal. It would be fine. I would just go do that job. And what I found out, just because even just taking the test, the agility test, the newspapers were there, the TV was there. It was a big deal. I hadn't expected any of that. I went to Engine 18 in Ballard. The reason they sent me there was because it had 2 bathrooms. It wasn't very busy. Then I went to Engine 25 as a firefighter. That was in 1978, and we had lots of fires. So it was very good for me because it was a busy, busy station. And when you're busy, people don't harass you, and they watch that you can do your job. So all that stuff kind of floats away because they see what you can do. So that was good. As women came in, we all came in with this bright-eyed idea that we're going to do it, and it's fine, just we'll blend in. After about 5 years, you figured out you were tired of being screwed with. Because the underlying, people would do stuff like you wouldn't get your holiday off. You wouldn't, you'd get detailed more. So most women did figure that out, but it was hard to kind of prove those type of things. So I think a little bit of disillusionment would set in. For instance, they didn't do this to me, they did it to another woman. They wouldn't let her drive. She was in line. Driving is one of those things when the regular driver wasn't there, the next person in line would drive. Well, the next person wasn't there, so a woman was ready to drive. Well, they wouldn't let her drive. And the only reason they wouldn't let her drive was she was a woman. You had to have the nerve to say, that is not right, I'm in line to drive, and if you don't let me, I'm going to the next person above you. And those are the type of things that I always did because I was the first. Had I been the 10th, I might have been easier going and maybe not as assertive, but because I knew I represented all women, and if they screwed with me, they could screw with all the ones behind me. So I never let them do that. And if they did do that, I would question them. And then I, of course, decided I would be a lieutenant, which probably was the hardest part of my whole career. Because again, I was naive in thinking it'll not be that big of a deal, and it was a really big deal. And my face was plastered in the newspaper, and so when people would see me, even on inspections, they'd be mean to me. And they weren't in the fire department, but they just thought I shouldn't be there. So I got a lot more kind of abuse, subtle abuse that way. I had one run when I was a lieutenant on Engine 21. It was with the ambulance company. I'm a new lieutenant. I had code greened the medic unit. I'd called for an ambulance to come because I felt the patient was in good enough shape. They didn't believe me. And they didn't believe me because it was me. It wasn't because any other reason. And they called for a medic unit. When those type of things would happen, you are helpless because it is nothing you can do about it. And so I would run into those type of things. And most people don't know about those things happening. And of course, I didn't tell anybody. Who am I? You know, what am I supposed to do? Call my battalion chief and say, Shepard doesn't trust me? My battalion chief didn't really trust me. So again, you know, you kind of roll with it. But I think my first 7 years and being the first woman lieutenant was probably the hardest thing I did. It's not, the job hasn't really changed. It's that the people keep questioning you and you're tired of giving them your same stuff. And you shouldn't have to. But because you're unusual, you have to. So we did form a women's organization called the Association of Female Firefighters. One of the best things we did, and hardest, was pregnancy. We didn't have a good pregnancy policy. Now, different for me, I'm under a different pension. The Left 2 pension did not provide, and the city did not provide for pregnancy. Basically, women had to take 9 months or a year off of their job. It made so they had no seniority later. It made it so that they didn't have benefits. So we had to sue the Relief Association, which of course was that was as bad as affirmative action. So that was a huge piece, but the women took that on and we won because they wouldn't pay for pregnancy, which is illegal. I was always pushing. I was always pushing to get more done. I was always pushing to be in a higher position. I tried out to be a deputy 12 times. 12 to 15 times, and I never got it. I had guys that I had trained. They trained out once. White males that got it over me. Now thinking about it after being retired 2 years out, it wasn't meant to be. You know what? Other women will go further than where I went, but it was because I was there pushing the whole time. So it's a different way to think about it. And yeah, I feel bad. I always wanted to be in charge of the city and be deputy one. I always that was a goal. I always wanted to do that. That didn't happen. There still is no woman that's a deputy one in charge of the whole city running fires. We do have Susie Rosenthal, who's an assistant chief.
It's changed all across society in terms of women's work, men's work. You know, people in their 20s, teens, 20s, even their 30s have grown up with women in non-traditional jobs so that as those people come into the fire department, it's just not a big deal. They're not the least bit impacted by the fact there's a woman on their crew. You know, the big rub against women all along has been that we're smaller. You know, we're not as physically capable. Well, guess what? There's some situations where it pays to be smaller, lighter, more flexible, more dexterous, whatever it is. And so you move over, dude. I'm better at this than you are.
Some people know if they've been testing, they know how hard it is to get into, at least for Seattle. You know, you get 3,000 people that test for 10 to 20 something spots.
Do you know how many women applicants are?
Not enough.
All during the 80s, women were coming in because of affirmative action and because it was a mandate from the mayor and through the fire department. So in every class, there'd be about 10 women. And it was well advertised, and you would be paid to be weight trained, and we'd get you ready and put you in the fire department. So right now, we have about 100 women. But all those women are just about ready to retire, and we're not replacing those women. So it's, again, it's just like minorities. We're on a very low number. They're all retiring, and they're not coming in.
You know, that initial applicant pool for women and minorities is too small to, you know, to sustain any kind of real growth on the other side, on the success side.
So kind of what do we do? We go on lots of aid runs. We deal with women and minorities all the time in the city. That's not going to be there.
I-200 was when it stopped. Our pre-recruit program went on until I-200 impacted that, and you know, the future of affirmative action, well, today's version of affirmative action, as far as I'm concerned, is Camp Blaze.
BLAZE stands for Bravery, Leadership, Attitude, Zenith, and Empowerment. And we started in 2001 here in North Bend. So this is our 6th camp. The idea of this camp is that we give them a taste of firefighting. So we teach them from the beginning of learning how to use the equipment.
Here we go, try that.
It's building blocks. They learn about all the equipment. They start with their gear.
Now jump up.
Hose handling, the equipment, how to work in a team. By the time they're fighting live fire like they are today, they get an idea of how you work together and how you fight fire. And by the end of the week, they're fighting live fire in a building.
Just right here.
So 2 ropes on each person.
They also rappel out of a building.
Push out, push out, push out.
All in! All in! Almost to the top! Couple more, keep going!
They climb an aerial 100 feet in the air. They get a sense of their fear of heights. They get a sense of whether they like the adrenaline rush and they want to push themselves. They know if they want to run into a burning building or run out of a burning building. And they also know if they want to serve people and they want to work with other people in a very close environment. And that really gives them a taste of whether this is something they want to do.
I like coming here because the instructors, everyone's nice and they enjoy what they're doing, and it's just a really nice feeling to know that they really want to be here and they're taking time out of their schedule to teach us.
I've learned that you need to be a team. You need to communicate a lot in firefighting. I didn't really realize that till I came here. But it's really a team sport, I guess, if you want to think about it like that. But everyone helps each other in this career, so it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm part of the 2nd generation of women in the fire service, so there were pioneer women ahead of me who really paved the way. So by the time I was hired in San Francisco, there were already 92 other women. So I really felt indebted to them that I was not such a novelty. And yet at the same time, it was still difficult. I had never been under the microscope for my gender. But times have definitely changed. I would say in the fire service, we're still only 2% nationally. But there are more women chiefs, there are more women officers, and there are more women in the fire service. And this camp, I think, is proof of that, this camp is driven and led by all women firefighters. And they're all volunteers. They come here on their vacation time to serve as mentors for these young women. And I think the idea is that they want to give back. They want to create an opportunity and pave the way for future young women, hoping that they will be future leaders in the fire service.
You don't want to work and get closer to the trough as we go. You want to keep a parallel line next to it and keep that sort of consistent distance and just sweep it along.
Okay. Blaze was the first firefighting experience I ever had, and since I was younger, I always told people I wanted to be a firefighter. I was reading 17 magazine, and there's an article that showed girls rappelling down buildings and climbing fire ladders, and I found out about it that way and went online and applied and was excited to come here. From then on, I joined the cadet program through the Seattle Fire Department. But this was the first time that I saw women firefighters, and I saw that as a woman, I could be a firefighter. So I think if I hadn't come to Camp Blaze, I never would have thought in a million years that I could pursue this career.
so uniquely special to me personally because it's, you know, it's the women that I came through with that are now sort of paying it forward. There isn't anybody better than them to be showing these young women how it works, where to go, what to do.
It's fun. I like it because it's kind of nice to be like, hey, you can do this.
I think that the spirit is definitely, it just comes from just being a woman, you know, like there aren't a lot of women in the fire department, or especially a lot that are firefighters now. When they came in, there weren't a whole lot, so they want to empower people, you know, young women to do that. I mean, it's fun. Like, I don't have a problem working with a bunch of guys, you know, like it's fun, but it's also fun to like, to meet other women that are firefighters, because it is a unique thing.
And here it's really cool to have all these women around that are really encouraging and they support me, and that's really nice to have.
My dad did firefighting, my uncle did firefighting, my other uncle does firefighting, and so I want to be the first woman in the family.
You can do it if you really try. And these ladies, these women are so strong. They're not just physically, but mentally. Everything is about leadership and teamwork and being a leader as a woman yourself. You use that to boost you up and be like, I might be the minority, but I got that oomph. I got that.
I mean, because of what they went through and the things that they helped change because of their hardworking habits, their good attitudes, and all the things they had to endure, my life's easier. I feel it's an obligation for me to not only uphold what they have paved, they've really paved the way for myself and any other woman that comes in after me. That's an obligation for all of us to uphold it and then supersede it.